James Toney was an exceptional counterpuncher and an inside fighter who often preferred to work off the ropes. Throughout his career, he possessed lightning-fast hand speed and formidable punching power, coupled with his durability, never losing a single one of his 92 professional bouts by stoppage. And in today's episode, we will showcase the top 5 fights of James Toney's career, when he switched to beast mode and dismantled his opponents. 5th place. James Toney vs. Charles Williams. Opening our list of demolitions is the bout against Charles Williams. In July 1994, the 26-year-old Toney defended his IBF World Super Middleweight title against former IBF World Champion Charles Williams. Williams was a formidable boxer. Before his defeat to Charles, he had an impressive record of 8 title defenses, with 7 of his challengers succumbing to knockouts. Williams gave Toney a serious challenge after the 11th round. Toney was leading on all 3 judges' scorecards, and in terms of accurate punches, he was ahead 378 to 321.
Toney throws that right hand, lands it flush.
Get my title up to take this one. This doesn't seem like it's going to be. But maybe Prince Charles is starting to slow.
The left eye of Prince Charles Williams is chosen to back up and leave room. Work at a high rate by leaning inside. Tough fight. Toney is establishing a left jab, which is his best fight. Take some distance. Toney throws that right hand, lands it flush.
Get my title up to take this one. This doesn't seem like it's going to be. But maybe Prince Charles is starting to slow.
The left eye of Prince Charles Williams is chosen to back up and leave room.
This fight was recognized as one of the best bouts of 1994, and its conclusion was not only highly dramatic but also incredibly spectacular. With just 27 seconds remaining in the bout, James Toney sent Charles Williams into a knockout with a single right-hand punch.
Follow you around. Cortez appeared.
This knockout arguably became the most visually stunning moment in Toney's career and one of the best knockouts of the 1990s. 4th place. James Toney vs. Vasiliy Jirov. In April 2003, when James Toney stepped into the ring to face IBF World Champion in the cruiserweight division, Kazakhstan's Vasiliy Jirov, few experts gave James a chance of victory. And there were several reasons for this. Firstly, James Toney was considered a somewhat overfed middleweight. Secondly, he hadn't showcased his best qualities for many years, and everyone believed that his prime had already passed. Thirdly, Vasiliy Jirov was an incredibly strong boxer. An Olympic champion from Atlanta, holder of the Val Barker Trophy in amateur boxing, Vassiliy reached the pinnacle. Transitioning to professional boxing, Jirov continued to dismantle his opponents. At the time of the bout with Toney, he had held the IBF Championship title for nearly 4 years, with 6 successful defenses. But Jirov couldn't do anything against Toney. James consistently made him miss and frequently landed flashy counters.
That's why we expected a great fight tonight.
That's right.
Toney off again, backed him off for a moment with a right to the chest. But again, the fast pace, Jirov's. That's why we expected a great fight tonight.
That's right.
Toney off again. Good left hook. Smoker's letting him go.
Yes.
Hard punches by Jirov. Good.
Jirov's body shots, including left hooks to the liver, didn't work either.
Jirov taking him. Vasiliy Jirov only knows one way to fight. He comes straight forward, digging to the belly.
Leave it to this point. All the odd rounds to James Toney.
Toney's breadbasket.
This tempo.
Big left hook.
James is getting hit on his shoulders, his elbows, everywhere.
James simply shielded his torso with his arms and avoided headshots thanks to his excellent reflexes.
Hand by Toney, wobbled too. And he backs out of the corner on his own. Now Jirov.
Left hook again. The man's going again. Now James' experience is coming through now.
Toney's punches repeatedly rocked Jirov, and in the closing moments of the 12th round, James managed to knock the Kazakhstani boxer down.
Split decision, 1-point win for Toney in a brilliant fight.
There was no doubt about Toney's victory, not even among the judges, who scored the fight 117-109, 117-109, and 116-110 in favor of Toney. Third place. James Toney vs. Michael Nunn. Over 32 years ago, on May 10, 1991, 22-year-old James Toney entered the ring against one of the world's best boxers, American Michael Nunn. Nowadays, perhaps few remember, but at that time, Nunn was a true monster. He was ranked in the top 10 of the pound-for-pound ratings. In some versions, he even made the top 5, and his knockout of Sumbu Kalambe was voted the best knockout of 1989. In July 1988, Nunn secured the IBF World Middleweight title, defeating Frank Tate by technical knockout in the 9th round. Nunn defended his title 5 times, triumphing over very strong opponents: former pound-for-pound leader Donald Curry, 3-weight world champion Iran Barkley, former world champions Marlon Starling and Sumbu Kalambe, and the resilient Argentine Juan Domingo Roldan. For the bout against Toney, Michael Nunn entered as the clear favorite, and initially, the course of the fight confirmed the experts' predictions.
Him from the hip.
All arms.
You can see he's not
Getting into it there. They are throwing some punches.
getting hit by counterpunches by Toney. Like right there. It's
Jabs, but they are getting on the ropes. Toney actually pushes him over. Nunn's hanging over. Look at that right. Nunn's head slapping back. The right again.
in baseball terms, Nunn's getting infield singles.
After 10 rounds, Nunn was leading on all 3 judges' scorecards with scores of 97-93, 98-92, and 99-11. However, in the middle of the 11th round, Toney simply brought Nunn down with a left hook. Michael barely rose from the canvas after the knockdown. But Toney immediately unleashed a barrage of punches, knocking the champion to the canvas for the second time.
James Toney wins the title! Unbelievable!
This time, the referee didn't even start the count. Knockout. Second place. James Toney vs. Iran Barkley. In July 1993, James Toney moved from middleweight to super middleweight and faced IBF world champion Iran Barkley. Barkley was a formidable boxer. By the time of the fight with Toney, he had already captured championship titles in 3 weight divisions. If Toney had moved up 1 weight class to face Barkley, the latter had moved down from light heavyweight to super middleweight. Barkley had victories over many strong fighters, but 2 of his sensational wins against the legendary Thomas Hearns stood out. In their first bout, Barkley won by technical knockout in the 3rd round, and in the second, he secured a split decision. However, he couldn't replicate that against Toney. In this matchup, Toney performed flawlessly. It's difficult to find even a single mistake in James's actions, as precise and calculated as they were. The heavy blows from Barkley constantly filled the air, while Toney consistently landed accurate and powerful strikes, coming from various angles to Barkley's head and body.
Look at the fast hands. This is brilliant stuff.
Impeccable defense, excellent combinations with hooks and uppercuts in this fight. James Toney appeared to be nearly a flawless boxer.
Look at the fast hands. This is brilliant stuff from James Toney. This is brilliant stuff from James Toney. No low blow warnings for Richard Steve.
Wanted him to be busted in the eyes at this point.
Good right hand by Barkley. 3, 4, 5, 7 of them. Barkley jabs back.
That's right, those body punches is helping him.
And George, you've referred several times as Toney lands
To be win somewhere near 170
all the talk about how different he'd be at 168.
knockout because that jab can really just shut him.
Taking those uppercuts inside. And the 32 don't look as good on Barkley. Left.
Sometimes the 24 years old can work a lot against you too. The referee has been real.
Spectacular punch stat statistic.
The brutal beating of the champion continued for 9 rounds. His face after all the missed blows was impossible to recognize. And after the 9th round, Barkley's seconds removed their fighter to avoid even more dire consequences. First place. James Toney vs. Evander Holyfield. Right after defeating Vasiliy Jirov, Toney decided to test his abilities in the heavyweight division. Experts were skeptical of this idea. Yes, James looked impressive against Jirov, but what could a 175 centimeters tall boxer achieve among the giants? This sentiment was likely shared by the promoters of the legendary Evander Holyfield, who believed that a victory over Toney would rehabilitate Evander in the eyes of fans after his loss to Chris Bird. What a mistake that turned out to be! James Toney didn't just defeat the renowned veteran, he subjected him to the most severe beating of his career. No one had hit Holyfield as hard before or after. Just as he had done a decade earlier against Barkley, Toney's actions were impeccable: perfect defense, excellent counterattacks, lightning-fast multi-punch combinations. While Holyfield could somewhat withstand Toney's onslaught in the early rounds, by the time the fight reached its midpoint, Toney's advantage became overwhelming.
Toney himself coming back. James Holyfield was able to do something you seldom can do against Toney. Land a good right hand, but you see how well he blocked the right hand. And the combination reaction, then it has been all down. That even a loss to the big right hand by Holyfield out of nowhere. As Toney continues to press forward, only dramatic turnaround, Holyfield. He knows that was what he...
In the 9th round, Toney sent Holyfield to the canvas with a body shot, prompting Evander's trainer, Don Turner, to throw in the white towel. We pondered for a long time over which of Toney's fights to consider the best in his career, as he looked equally impressive against Barkley and Holyfield. On one hand, Holyfield is undoubtedly a more exceptional boxer than Barkley, yet on the other, just 15 days after the fight with Toney, Holyfield turned 41, and his prime years were far behind him, whereas Barkley was still in his prime. But James Toney himself repeatedly stated that his best fight was indeed the bout against Holyfield, so we placed this fight at the top spot of our ranking.